Welcome back to the Real Freedom Channel. In this episode, this will be our final segment of the interview we did with Dylan. And we're going to talk about relationships and not just the importance of them, because everyone understands that relationships are important, but more how to use the relationships in the correct way and the right attitude to have about those. We're also going to talk about social media and its importance in what we do in this day and age and how to make that work for you. And then finally, we're going to speak about real estate licensing. Do you need a license to be successful in this business? And if you have one, how can you utilize that to grow and expand your business on both the agency side and on the investor side? So join us as we go into part 4 of our interview and discussion with Dylan Tanaka. If you're building those relationships with the objective of profiting by them, it's not really going to work, right? Mm-hmm. You have to build the relationships, for the value of the relationship, and that's what creates genuine friendships, partnerships, and one of the things that you impact a lot of people, Dylan, because of the way that the way that you present yourself, and you impact a lot of people in a real positive way. But I can attest that, when something arrived at my house in this big envelope, I'm like, what is this? And I opened it and I was laughing for 5 minutes. It made a huge impact. And you weren't doing that because you're trying to do business with me. We're friends. We don't do business together in that way. But I can't think of a better example of, focusing on the relationship for the value of the relationship. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but at that point, that's when at some point after that, huge things can come out of that, because people aren't a transaction to you. People are, they're a friend, they're a vendor, they're a partner. And, you actually live that. And that's something that, I'm trying to get better at, as a person and in our business, because, you've, certainly impressed me with that. And, I'd like to steal a few of those ideas to use with other people, because I know how it made me feel. So that you're pretty much the master of that. And, I always say you can learn something from everyone. And, you happen to be a master of a lot of different things. And so there are a lot of things that, I can learn from you, but that's one that I, already have and have certainly appreciated. So as we kind of wrap this up, what advice would you have for people that are either thinking about getting into this business, or they already have, but they're trying to take things, they're trying to level up, or maybe somebody that's an agent, because that's something that you and I, both being licensed, we're passionate for. Maybe somebody's an agent and they're wanting to take a look at the dark side, maybe learn how to be an investor, or at least how to identify as an investor. What advice would you have for anyone along that spectrum?
Yeah, I can peg off all three of those, and I know that at some point we're going to get on another show and we'll get more focused on that agent investor role. But
right,
getting involved in real estate or as an entrepreneur, because I don't call myself a real estate investor or broker. I do, but I would tell you I'm a real estate entrepreneur, because I've done a bunch of stuff. I want to do a bunch of stuff, and it's all related to real estate. We used to do board ups for a country. I wish we used to do board ups for a specific city here in Michigan.
Wow.
And we were making $30,000 a month net, me and two partners. And guess what I did? I did nothing. I got the account. I found the guy who was managing the money, and I found the guy who's going to do the work. And it only lasted like a summer. And you got to be really careful doing work for cities, because they'll just go BK on you. But I'm saying, like, that came from, flipping houses or whatever it is. So I think number one is, even if you're an introvert, I think you have to build relationships. You have to spend more time, again, in person at meetups and RIAs and all that stuff, right? And online in your local Facebook groups, or however they're doing networking. You got to step out of your comfort zone. I didn't know that I was going to be okay at public speaking. I didn't know that I was going to be okay at leading a group or teaching people, or some of the stuff that I did. I kind of fell into it, and I wasn't a big follower ever, but I wasn't like, I went to a really big high school with almost 5,000 kids. So I wasn't like the quarterback, or I wasn't the leader, but I wasn't a follower. Right. And I graduated when I was 17. I was 13 when I was a freshman, because I have a late birthday. Like, I was like a little baby. Today, like, I've met your daughter. the bad stuff that I'd done by the time I was 15, you know what I mean? And she's still like toting around with mom and dad. I would have never went on vacation with my mom and dad at 15, right? So it was a different era back then, but I wasn't a follower. So I became a leader. And I'm not going to say I'm the best leader, but I have my own little thing that I do, right? And that came from building relationships, from knowing how important relationships are. It's sometimes you throw good time after bad, just like good money after bad. But in the long run, if you are going to stay in this business, and this is something I tell people all the time, start your blog right away, start your YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel sucks and so does mine. And when we watch this 2 years from now, we're going to go, holy crap, they did. Look at how much better they are now. And we'll always keep saying that because we're always on our way up, right?
Right.
But build that place where people can go to learn about you if you're going to stay in this business. Right. Build your relation, you know, as wide as you can, build those relationships, meet as many people as you can, and, you know, cherish the ones that are good. I don't want to get all like soft and fluffy, but spend time with those. You know, with this guy the other day passing away, I texted a couple of my buddies last night. These are guys I do business with, and they're like, okay, well, you got to tell me what's going on. Now, James, all you have to do is Google Dylan Tanaka if something happened to me, and you're going to find out where my funeral is. You know what I'm saying? But these same people look at me and go, well, you got to tell us where's everything happening. So they look to me for that. So I've got to post that stuff and I've got to send it around, whatever. And I'm happy to do that. But those are the relationships that I've built. So it surpasses, hey, you want to flip a house? I've been to weddings. I've been to funerals. Unfortunately, I've been to christenings. I've held babies, right? In you know, instead of the Godfather who couldn't make it, I got to stand there one time. So that's super cool to do. So those relationships, I think, are the number one thing you should do. And then the second most important thing is try to level up every single day, which I try to, right? Every day I try. And then I look back and go, oh man, I did, you know, I should have been doing that. But as long as you're conscious of it, you never quitting. It's like if you're a cigarette smoker, right? Or if you're drinking too much, or if you're eating too much, if every day you're looking back going, hey, I ate one less slice of pizza that day, I'm moving forward, but I know that I have that issue. Or I know I wasn't supposed to handwrite all those letters, but I didn't have somebody to get them out. But when I sent them out, I got a deal. So now I can afford somebody to handwrite, you know, those addresses for me or whatever it is. So I think relationships and then leveling up. And then for those guys and girls who are licensed agents who are thinking about joining the dark side, I used to train agents a long time ago, not like Con Ed and all that boring baloney. I'm talking about, I taught real estate agents how to work with crazy investors like James and I, because during the foreclosure boom, there were literally here in Michigan, houses were on the market 400 plus days. They had birthdays on the market. Let me tell you, those were great days for us. Right. So I trained agents how to work with investors and how to work for investors, because appraisals weren't working. People couldn't get mortgages. You couldn't flip houses in my town and in a lot of places for 2 or 3 years, if not 4 almost. It was a long time to where it got crazy. For us, it was 2015 when it got what we call crazy. In Dallas, it's probably 2011. There was a 4-year span, you know, and where you come from, James, where your family's from, it's not real exciting there either. You know what I mean? So it's just normal Midwest, like kind of boring. Yeah. So to me, not being a one-trick pony, I think every real estate investor, if they're going to be in business long-term, should get the real estate license. I don't care if you tell me my lawyer said I'll get sued for more. If this happens, that happens, you're getting sued anyways. Let me tell you, you're throwing away money, you're throwing away leads, you're throwing away a chance to build another business underneath you, because we're all big shots. And I was there before too. And it was more my partner's choice. And this is the truth, where we would throw deals away because we're not going to work with these people on the agent side. We're not going to list the rehabs after we wholesale to them. That's taken us off our mark of just being wholesalers. Well, I'll work 100 hours a week instead of 80 and list houses and make money if I have to, especially when I first started. So we would throw all that away. And again, being one trick ponies. Whereas in the bad times, who buys houses? Investors. In the good times, who buys houses? Investors. Yep. The agents who make the most money, and I can't speak for all of them, but the agents who I know here who earn $1 million plus, which is 2 or 3 people, all of them, guess what they do? Buy multi-units, developments, out of state stuff, right? Stuff on the coast in Florida, stuff down by you guys, crazy Austin, Las Vegas, Phoenix. They all invest in real estate because it's what we know and it's what we do. So if you are a real estate agent and you want to learn about investing, absolutely jump in, because you can either make money with transactions, you can partner, or you can start doing it yourself. And conversely, if you're a real estate investor, you should get your license because you're throwing away a lot of money. I'm not saying you're going to drive your cousin around for 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years to find them that perfect house, and they're not even qualified for a mortgage yet. What I'm saying is I've thrown away, I would say, close to $1 million in commissions that would have taken some of my time, but that would have been handing a lot of that work off to somebody else who's happy to do it. Because the difference between a real estate investor and a doctor is we can develop hospitals and they can't. You know why? Because they fix people. Real estate agents, they can't all do what we do because they drive people around and they help them make offers and all this stuff, but they don't know what we know. So they're being one trick ponies. We're the ones who can put it all together. So if you're an investor and you understand that business and you get your license, you can hand your leads and deals off to somebody else because that's all they know what to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? If you're just going to dig a ditch your whole life and you love it, then you're the happiest person in the world. You might be happier than me long-term every day, right? You're more fulfilled. I don't know. But they don't know how to get leads. They don't know how to find their own deals. Doctors don't know how to develop hospitals. So they pay us to do it, right? And we put a bunch of money together and then we're on the master lease and all this other cool stuff happens. They're fixing people.
Yep.
So if you're an investor, you should get your license. If you're an agent, if you have a feeling that you want to learn about investing, learn as much as you can, because you can build a stable of investor buyers who are going to buy all the time. And they're going to buy the ones that the normal people don't want.
That's right.
And then you can make money both ways. You can help them buy it as a buyer's agent, and then you can list it for them.
Yeah.
So one relationship can, the most money I've probably traded with one of my wholesale buyers who I've also partnered with. We've built houses together, all kinds of stupid stuff. Collectively, our profits have probably, I don't know if it's pushed $1 million, but it's between 500 and $1 million. With one guy, I've made $500 or $1 million in my whole career. And sometimes I wholesaled to him and he made a bunch of money. Sometimes he just told me about a possible deal and I snuck in and got it because just weird things that occur. Yep. So that's $1 million guy. How many, for those of you who want to quit your job and who want to be real estate investors full-time, real estate agents full-time, how many $1 million guys do you need over a 30-year period? You only need 3 because that's 90 grand a year. Off of 3 people. And that can happen really, really easily because James and I know 100 people that you could make $1 million with over the next 30 years, and they stand in one room. And let's be honest, that's not the only room full of people like that. So
that's right. It's just the one we know.
It's just the one that we're a big part of, but there's a lot more out there than you think. So, but you got to have some focus. You can't be crazy like I am and just run a million different directions and be an octopus. You got to be focused.
But you didn't start there, Dylan. And when we started our company, I got my real estate license just prior to starting this company. And looking back, I'm glad I did it the way that I did. But for a lot of people, I think to learn to launch a company and to go through the whole licensing thing and then try to learn that, that's a lot of moving parts. If I hadn't started this business with my wife and, both of us, kind of running this, I wouldn't have been able to do that. You didn't just start being crazy and all over the place, though. You started with one thing and very wisely kind of just diversified into something else. And as you saw opportunity, you learn to take advantage of it. And that's the entrepreneur in you. When you talk about, a guy that, you can make $1 million with over, not even a real long period of time. I think that's the other thing that people that are contemplating, becoming an entrepreneur in real estate, I think if you're, slaving away and working for 60, 80, 100,000 a year, it's really hard for that person to understand how much money and opportunity really is out there because, you've been toiling away trying to figure out, okay, how do I get a promotion and get from 60 to 80 or 80 to 100 or, on, and you don't realize that you can just change your life as an entrepreneur. You mentioned immigrants earlier, how they come to the US and they just knock it dead because they're here for the opportunity. They see it for what it is. They're entrepreneurs. And I think at whatever point people, realize, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, then I think to go after things, hard and with a lot of belief, is the way to do it. But to have a plan and to stay super focused on, okay, I'm going to knock this out, then I'm going to expand into this and, not be afraid of when I expand into this, if this doesn't work out quite right, I'm going to drop that and move to this other thing. But, just having a core business, building on that and then diversifying that, no matter what industry it is, every entrepreneur I know that's been like wildly successful, it's always been some variation of that. And I think you've epitomized that, Dylan. And, you just lightly touched on that when we opened this podcast, but that's something that I'm sure we're going to want to explore in a future episode, because there's so many things we hit on that I'd like to dive deeper on, and I'm sure we will. But I thank you so much for your time today. I know people will get a lot of value out of what you shared today, and it's been an honor for me to have you as my first interview on this podcast, which was only appropriate since you were the one that's been riding me for at least 2 years to start this. So thanks for being here today, and thanks for driving us to start the podcast.
Yeah, I'm honored to be your first guest. I'll be on here as many times as you guys want, and it's fun. I love doing this stuff, and it reaches different audiences and it hits people different ways. And all of a sudden, 2 years from now, somebody's like, "Hey, I heard you on this podcast."
Yeah.
And it happened to me when I was on the Carrot Cast with Trevor. That was I think it was 2015. I must be wrong. It must have been 17. I know it was an odd year because I have a weird way of remembering things. But somebody said to me, "Yeah," he goes, "I heard you and Trevor talking about this whole hybrid thing about being an investor agent." And I'm like, "At Investor Fuel?" I'm like, "Was somebody recording us when we were talking?" Because him and I had just talked about it a month ago. And he goes, "No," he goes, "on the Carrot Cast." And I'm like, "That was 4 years ago or 5 years ago I did that." I'm like, "Holy cow." But that's this stuff, it grows forever, and, it lives for a long time on the internet. So that's why I say, start building your stuff up, because this is somebody local to me here who I'm doing some business with now. And my podcast with Trevor helped push me over the edge with him. It was the weirdest thing, especially since I'm like, "You mean at Investor Fuel just like last week?" The guy's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." So then I got to tell him, "Hey, at lunch, I got to have a little conversation with Trevor and whatever, and that boosted me up a little bit with him also, because he's a Carrot client." But it's just funny how all that stuff works. So yeah, it's just about relationships. And, like I said, happy to be on here and connect with you guys whenever you want me to.
Well, we so appreciate it and can't thank you enough. And I can't wait to do the next one. Thanks so much.
Thanks, James.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the final segment of our interview with Dylan. I got a lot out of it just from speaking with him, as I always do. With social media and with relationships, the key thing is this: authenticity is key. At the Real Freedom Channel, we are all about reality in real estate investing. The reason for that is there are a lot of gurus, a lot of programs on TV that try to show and represent what we do, and most of them are nowhere close to reality. So we focus on reality, and we believe that's critical in your business, whether it's how you handle social media as relates to your business or the relationships that you have. Honesty, transparency, authenticity are going to be some of the cornerstones of your success. With social media, it's something that's always evolving, but make sure that that's something that you can make a business case for, and that you're utilizing it in the right way to actually be profitable, and not just to check out what your friends had for dinner last night on Instagram. And then finally, as far as having a real estate license, do you need a license to be successful in this business? You do not. However, if you have a real estate license, it opens up a tremendous amount of opportunity that you wouldn't otherwise have. So we wouldn't suggest starting a business, getting a real estate license all at the same time. That's kind of a lot, as we talked about. However, once you have one, to work on the other makes perfect sense in our view, and we think that's something that you would profit by and never regret. So thanks for watching. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, please give us a like. Let us know. Comments will always be answered, questions, etc. Hit that red subscribe button and turn on notifications. We'd like you to be aware of every time we post new content, so you can take what we're doing and you can utilize this to drive the success in your business. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.